As the bells tolled midnight, Clara's heart raced with desperation and faith, longing for the Eucharist amidst her confines. Suddenly, the walls of her cell melted away, revealing the luminous chapel filled with the faithful, their devotion radiating warmth and love. In that sacred moment of communion, she grasped a connection far beyond her physical limitations, a miracle that defied all logic. But how did a cloistered nun's silent prayers weave into the tapestry of a young man's quest for faith and connection? You won't believe what happened next, but before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Carlo Acutis sat cross-legged on the worn wooden floor of his room in Milan, Italy, surrounded by an array of electronics and books. His eyes glinted with excitement as he pored over a particular tale, the story of Santa Clara of Assisi. At 15, Carlo was already a remarkable blend of tech-savvy genius and deep spirituality. It was a winter evening, with snowflakes gently falling outside his window, casting a delicate quiet over the world outside. As he read about Clara's life, his heart felt a surge of compassion, igniting a passion for the miracles of the Eucharist that would define his young life. He immersed himself in Clara's plight, recounting how the saint fell gravely ill during her youth, plagued by a sickness that stripped her of vitality. Carlo could almost feel the weight of her sorrow as he read about the agonizing uncertainty she faced. Separated from the sacrament of communion, she experienced a spiritual agony that echoed like a deafening silence in her heart. Clara's hopes of receiving the Holy Eucharist on Christmas Eve hung tantalizingly out of reach. Against the backdrop of festive carols and bustling preparations, she lay in her cell, yearning for the one thing that could nourish her soul. Outside, the world was lit up and filled with joy. Families prepared their Christmas Eve feasts and children's laughter floated through the air. Yet in her solitude, Clara's heart ached for the warmth of communion. The narrative revealed her deep emotional turmoil, the longing that spiraled into despair. Carlo envisioned her clenching the blanket around her, wishing for an encounter with the divine that felt so far away. The contrast between the celebrations outside and her somber reality intensified his empathy. In his mind, Carlo connected with Clara's moment, imagining her frail body framed by the flickering candlelight that barely reached the darkness of her cell. Each flicker was like the pulse of her faith, undying but undeniably tested. Her spirit brimmed with prayer as each request whispered through the thin walls of her prison of illness. "Why, God, why must I suffer so?" He could almost hear her cry, a querulous whistle in the stillness of the night. The story unfolded with meticulous detail as Carlo absorbed every emotion Clara had endured. He imagined her concerned companions, the sisters Agnese, Pacifica, and Philippa, casting anxious glances in her direction, their hearts entangled by worry for their beloved friend. They brought her comfort from the joys they could still experience, yet Carlo could tell it was no balm for Clara's yearning soul. Each moment felt suffocatingly still. The ticking clock harmonized with her slow breaths, a reminder of time slipping away under the heavy cloak of despair. With a determined mind, Carlo shifted his gaze from the page, letting the story settle into his heart. He began to ponder the depths of faith and the power of the Eucharist. His own heart leaped as he recalled the times he had attended Mass with his family, the extraordinary sense of community and love encased within the walls of the church. He could visualize the congregation, the whispered prayers, the uplifting hymns, a connection that felt divine. Clara's experience reminded him of every individual thing he cherished about his faith, about the miracles he believed could happen in the most desperate of situations. As he refocused on the text, he felt a familiar stirring, a crescendo of hope slowly building. If Clara's heart longed so deeply for communion, surely something miraculous could happen. There must be a way. The bells in the distance began to ring an echo of the approaching midnight mass, their sound sharp and clear against the backdrop of the winter night. Carlo knew that Clara's yearning mirrored something deeper, a universal desire for connection, communion, and divine love. Did her faith hold the key? This thought resonated within him, a question that urged him to dig deeper. It was then he felt it, a strange alchemy of connection between his spirit and that of Clara. With a surge of determination, Carlo resolved to uncover the truth hidden deep within this tale. He would explore every aspect of her journey, dissect the spirituality intertwined with the miracle of the Eucharist, and ultimately amplify Clara's story. As the bells rang louder, signaling the night's most sacred moment, Carlo sensed the anticipation in the air, much like Clara must have felt. He stood up, driven by a newfound purpose, and felt the electric spark of possibility dancing at the tips of his fingers. The miracle of Santa Clara awaited. He would be its advocate, digging into history and faith, ready to share not just her story, but the inherent beauty of belief that dovetails into the fabric of human experience. Little did he know, the road ahead would weave together technology and spirituality in ways that would forever change his understanding of faith, connection, and the miracles that arise even from the depths of despair. The wheels of destiny began to turn. As Carlo Acutis dove deeper into the story of Santa Clara, he was struck not only by her physical ailment but also by the visceral emotional toll it took on her spirit. A cloistered nun, Clara endured her suffering in silence, cut off from the outside world, her only companions the starkness of the stone walls and the whispers of her fellow sisters. The cold, damp air of her cell mirrored the chilling reality of her illness, a reminder of life stripped down to its bare essence, where spiritual longing weighted heavier than any physical ailment. Clara lay in her modest bed, her frail form wrapped in a rough blanket, the flickering light of a solitary candle illuminating her pale face. Each breath was a struggle, every heartbeat a reminder of what she could not achieve, the sacramental union with her God that was so integral to her life. Though her body weakened, her spirit refused to yield completely. It flickered with a desperate hope that burned strongly in the face of consuming darkness. In her mind, Clara replayed the vivid memories of past Christmas Eves, when she would kneel and worship side by side with her sisters, sharing the warmth of faith and the promises of the Eucharist. The joyous melodies of O Holy Night echoed in her ears, a tune that once encapsulated her joy. Now, however, those notes only fueled a profound ache within her heart. She yearned for the miracle of communion, to cradle the host in her palms and feel that vibrant connection once more. The moments stretched into eternity within those stone walls. Clara's longing morphed into a spiritual hunger, an emptiness that gnawed at her insides. Surrounded by prayers and faith-filled hearts, the irony of her isolation only deepened her pain. She could see the other sisters attending Mass, their joy palpable as they received the Eucharist, and with each passing moment, Clara's yearning ramped up to unbearable levels. Her vows of silence and obedience felt like chains, binding her while her faith begged her to break free and join the sanctity of the ritual. Awash in sorrow, Clara turned to prayer, pouring her heart out to God. "If only I could see you, Lord," she whispered, tears cascading down her cheeks, each droplet a testament to her struggle. "I long for you more than anything, yet I am confined here. Let me take part in this Christmas miracle." The urge to reach beyond her own suffering, to grasp something more splendid than her circumstances, shone through her mundane trials. Time became disjointed within the thick, oppressive walls of her cell. Days bled into nights, each cycle punctuated by the chime of distant church bells, signaling the hours when the world seemed vibrant and alive while she languished in her solitude. Clara, with her heart full of hope, often caught herself straining to hear the jubilant hymns resonating from the chapel, a joyful cascade of sound that spiraled upwards like incense. Her friends would gather, devoutly maintaining their rituals, yet Clara remained trapped in her own grief. During these seemingly endless nights, her mind drifted back to the stories she had heard as a child about saints enduring trials and emerging with unwavering faith. Saints who had faced their suffering with grace and were rewarded for their devotion. Inspired by these tales of strength, Clara began weaving her own silent prayers into a tapestry of hope. Her longing transformed into invocations that wrapped around her like a warm embrace, igniting her spirit and sparking a flicker of determination. It was in those quiet moments of reflection that her realization took root. Clara sensed that her pain was not in vain. "God, do not allow my suffering to be without purpose," she implored. "I offer it up to you if it will lead to greater good." Clara's agony began to take on weight as it stirred something profound in her soul, a yearning that pulsed with living faith, whispering to her that God was near, even in her despair. But the reality of her situation pressed heavily on her heart. Would her prayers pierce through the veil of her solitude? Would anyone understand the depth of her longing, which now intertwined with a sense of desperation and hope? In that serene cocoon of suffering, she found that her heart had become an altar, a sacred space where her pain transformed into powerful supplication. She prayed fervently, her heart pulsating with fervor, as she longed for an encounter more monumental than her plight. And then, as the days lingered, illuminating the depth of her journey, a resolute thought enveloped her. What if this yearning was the start of something transformative? The mere flicker of hope ignited a flame within her, urging her to reach beyond her confines. Clara held onto this glimmer, wrapping it around her resolve with unwavering faith. What if her prayers could indeed transcend the very walls that confined her? Simultaneously, in Carlo's world, the search for the miraculous intertwined with the essence of Clara's spiritual journey. While he delved into her story, he felt her emotional landscape echoing in his heart. He recognized that her suffering formed the core of her miraculous tale and sparked a fire within him to honor that journey and share it with others. Clara's silent struggles, entwined with sacrificial love, cradled lessons he hoped to illuminate. Both in Clara's cell and within Carlo's heart, the seeds of transformation were being sown. Suffering, passion, hope, and faith, their intertwined journeys symbolized the universal truth of humanity's pursuit for connection and a desire for the divine. Little did they know how their paths would align in the cosmic tapestry of life, ushering in a miraculous encounter that would reshape their destinies forever. Emboldened by the flicker of hope within her, Clara dedicated herself to seeking the truth interwoven with her suffering. Although confined to the stone walls of her cell, she felt her spirit soaring beyond her physical limitations. Her illness, a barrier separating her from the world, created an urgency in her heart, a burning desire for understanding and connection. As she contemplated her reality, that initial flicker grew brighter, igniting a firm belief that this bond with the divine could indeed transform her situation. Meanwhile, in a room cluttered with the tools of technology, Carlo Acutis felt an irresistible pull toward Clara's story. His fingers danced across the keyboard as he searched for every bit of information he could find. The tales of miraculous encounters with the Eucharist intrigued him, but Clara's life resonated with a particular fervor. The internet and expansive digital library became his ally. He delved into archives, uncovering Clara's sacrifices, her profound faith, and the implications of her experiences woven through history. As he scrolled through countless documents, Carlo stumbled upon a treasure trove describing Clara's miracles. Each account deepened his understanding and drove him to explore not only the loss she experienced, but also her remarkable resilience. How had Clara sustained her faith in the face of her longing and suffering? What drove her to persist when all seemed bleak? These questions fueled his journey, igniting his desire to share Clara's story with the world, a narrative he felt urgently needed to be told. His research led him to stories of saints who had undergone similar trials. Carlo discovered that the sacred nature of suffering and its transformative qualities had been chronicled for centuries. Each narrative of divine intervention resonated, sparking curiosity about how Clara had unfolded her pain into something beautiful. The more fascinated he became by her unwavering hope, the more he realized how intertwined faith and suffering truly were. He felt an electric pulse coursing through him, an affirmation that belief had the potential to break the binds of despair. One document caught Carlo's eye in particular. It detailed Clara's inquisitive nature and her investigations into the miraculous events surrounding the Eucharist. It appeared that she had not only hoped for the divine but had actively sought to understand her faith on a deeper level. The determination with which she approached her quest left a profound mark on Carlo. It was a reminder that true belief often calls one to seek knowledge. Inspired by Clara's commitment, he knew he had to emulate her courage. His vision morphed. He felt compelled to weave her quest into a narrative that would connect viewers to the essence of faith. As the days passed, Carlo transformed his budding ideas into structured plans. He meticulously pieced together a digital presentation, mapping out Clara's experiences while intertwining them with his research on the transformative power of faith. His aim grew clearer. He wanted to create something bigger than himself, a documentary that would illustrate Clara's journey through her suffering and hopes, a project that could inspire others to reconnect with their beliefs and struggles. He envisioned interviews with theologians and historians, visuals of church interiors, and recounting powerful stories of faith across generations. On the other side of the world, Clara found solace in her research on the lives of saints and their trials. Her commitment became a lifeline, reviving her spirit as she delved into their stories of suffering, miracles, and unyielding faith. Clara realized that while her physical form was limited, her capacity for spiritual discovery was limitless. She made a habit of journaling her thoughts, capturing snippets of wisdom that emerged from her reflections. Every written word felt like a prayer, a tangible step toward the divine she sought. Days turned into weeks, and Clara's heartfelt meditations transformed her understanding of the Eucharist. Not merely a symbol of her longing, she began to see communion as a profound connection between people, a means to reach into the sacred and bind faithful hearts together. With each agonizing breath, she found permission within her spirit to dream. Her observations revealed something profound, that in embracing her suffering, she could channel her pain into a shared yearning for God. As Christmas Eve approached, Clara's heart pulsed with anticipation. The festive preparations filled the monastery with joys and laughter, which echoed throughout the stone hallways, enveloping her in a warmth she had been missing. Knowing the monks and nuns would soon partake in the rituals that she craved, Clara felt strangely at peace despite her circumstances. Each day her faith continued to grow deeper and more vibrant, like the flickering shadows cast by the candles lighting the chapel. In her solitude, she prayed for grace to overcome her challenges and sought divine interventions that would help her fulfill her ultimate yearning, the encounter with the Eucharist. The golden glow of candlelight flickered against the walls of her cell, igniting her hope. Each flicker was a testament to the prayers rising from her heart, intertwining her pain and longing into the hopeful fabric of faith. Meanwhile, Carlo felt that same energy echoing within him as he planned the documentary. He looked upon her story as a tapestry waiting to be woven together, an opportunity to connect modern lives with the sacred narratives of the past. His enthusiasm fueled his creativity. He turned to the software on his computer, sketching out notes, timelines, and visuals that could breathe life into Clara's journey. Plans for interviews, thematic visuals, and music swirled in his mind. He set a date, Christmas Eve, as the ideal launch, symbolizing the miraculous birth that unites the faithful. As the realization of their shared journeys blossomed, neither Clara nor Carlo had any inkling of the convergence on the horizon. They were two souls, centuries apart, driven by their love for God, longing for connection, and propelled by faith in divine interventions. This intertwining of their stories spoke of destiny, leading toward profound revelations on both sides. Clara's steadfast prayers mixed with Carlo's creative aspirations predicted the arrival of a transformative moment, one that would echo through time and inspire generations, a miraculous intertwining of faith and love waiting just beyond the horizon. As midnight approached on Christmas Eve, the atmosphere in the monastery thickened with anticipation. Clara could hear the faint ringing of the bells, their tones cascading through the cold night air, shimmering like the stars above. Each chime grew louder, resonating within her as she immersed herself deeper in prayer. She closed her eyes, the flickering flame of the candle lighting her cell, casting moving shadows along the rough stone walls, and envisioned the beautiful mass unfolding just beyond her reach. With every ringing bell, Clara felt the yearning in her heart swell, driving her to plead more fervently. "Lord, grant me this miracle," she whispered in a voice filled with both desperation and hope. "Let me witness the Eucharist this Christmas. Let my heart not remain silent in this longing." It felt as if her pleas were climbing through the heavens, threading through the darkened sky like stars seeking light. Clara considered both the night and the sanctuary beyond, a world where love and faith conspired to manifest miracles, an ethereal warmth drawing her closer to the divine through the embrace of unity found in the Eucharist. Across the centuries in Milan, Carlo prepared with feverish excitement for the launch of his documentary. He wanted to encapsulate the faith, longing, and miraculous moments that had shaped Clara's life, but he was equally concerned about doing her story justice. In the quiet of the early morning hours, he sat illuminated by the glow of his computer screen, reviewing the footage and thoughts he had crafted over the past few weeks. He constructed a narrative that embraced not only Clara's quest, but also ignited its viewers, yearning for connection and affirmation in their own lives. As he listened to the soft, stirring melodies he had chosen for the soundtrack, he imagined the emotional landscapes that Clara traversed. He could picture her vulnerability, her prayers resonating through despair, transforming into healing breaths of hope. The connection between Clara's yearning and his vision for her story crystallized in his heart. This documentary wasn't merely about the past. It was an invitation to countless souls desiring the divine. Back in her cell, Clara lingered on the cusp of prayer, her heart a restless drum in the stillness. She pondered the gift of faith she had been endowed with, feeling inspired and fortified by the love woven into the Eucharist. But she still felt the tug of sadness as she realized the palpable distance between herself and the sacred act of communion she so deeply craved. The walls of her cell suddenly seemed to close in on her, magnifying her sense of yearning. "Lord," she uttered softly, letting the words flow like a gentle stream, "do not let me be alone in this night. Let me be raised up so I can be among all those gathered in the warmth of your presence." A moment Clara felt something shift, a stirring deep within her soul, a realization that she could take action despite her confinement. She fervently imagined herself stepping into the chapel, surrounded by her sisters, anticipating the sacred moment. The flicker of determination inside her ignited and created space for something incredible to unfold. She continued to pray, invoking the spirit of Santa Clara as her inspiration, urging her connection to transcend her physical limitations. The ringing of the bells echoed through the monastery, signaling the beginning of the midnight mass. Although Clara remained in her cell, her heart soared, pulsing with divine anticipation. She imagined the sisters gathered in the chapel, their voices harmonizing in prayer, the flickering candles illuminating their expectant faces. It wasn't a moment of despair, but rather a pivotal moment of communion, where love transcended separation. "Please grant me this gift," she implored again, her heart a vessel brimming with faith. At that very moment the Mass began. The priest stepped forward to bless the Eucharist, and Clara clenched her fists, feeling each breath she drew surge with a purpose. It was as if she could sense the warmth of the chapel from her cell, the pulse of spiritual energy weaving together hearts yearning for God's love. A quiet wave of belief washed over her. "If only I could witness this Mass with my own eyes," she mused, allowing herself to picture the scene vividly. As Carlo watched, he felt the tension rise within the timeline of his documentary. The images of the church illuminated with candles, filled with congregants folded in prayer, brought him a profound sense of connection. Each heartbeat echoed his excitement, reminding him of the spiritual potency Clara had embodied throughout her life. He was acutely aware of the immense responsibility he carried, His work had to bridge the centuries, uniting separate journeys, a testament to the unwavering faith that transcended time. As Clara prayed, a gentle warmth enveloped her, casting away the pressing weight of material confines. She surrendered herself to the moment, letting go of her doubts and fears. With unwavering faith, she embraced the certainty that God was with her, filling her heart and spirit with light. It was an experience of elation, a surge of grace that pulsated with transformative love. With eyes closed in fervent supplication, she found herself swept into a vision. Suddenly, the walls of her cell faded away, and Clara stood outside the chapel, gazing upon the sacrosanct scene unfolding before her. The priests held the host aloft, and radiant light enveloped the congregation as a taste of heaven seemed to touch the earth in that sacred encounter. Tears filled her eyes with joy, her heart swelling with profound gratitude for the divine moment unfolding before her. She was no longer limited by her illness. She felt the connection that lifted her into the very occurrence she longed for. In that sacred space, she joined the chorus of faithful hearts wishing to be united in communion. In that pivotal moment, Clara's spirit soared, embracing the full circle of faith and community that enveloped them all. Her heart was alive with joy, gratitude, and a deep sense of belonging as she watched the miracle unfold. It was pure divinity, a splendid manifestation of love, connection, and hope. Clara understood that in faith there existed no barriers, only bridges leading to the sanctity of the divine. Quietly unknown to both her and Carlo, the threads of their intertwined destinies had begun to solidify. The miraculous moment of communion sparked a transformation that was anchored in the depths of faith, illuminating not only Clara's spirit but also the countless lives awaiting the message of hope he sought to share. Clara had discovered her miracle within, proving that faith transcends despair, transforming longing into divine encounter. As the midnight mass continued, Clara's heart resonated with the vibrant energy filling the chapel. In her vision, she stood among the congregation, their faces illuminated by candlelight, expressions of devotion radiating warmth and love. The priests moved with grace, their hands steady as they lifted the Eucharist high for all to see. Clara felt as if her very essence was entwined with theirs, each heartbeat echoing the prayers of the faithful, melding into a beautiful symphony of longing turned reality. At that moment she reached out, wanting to grasp the sacred host as it shimmered before her. The sacred light that enveloped the altar seemed to pulse in time with her heart, an invitation that her spirit could feel, an invitation to partake in the communion of faith. It was as if heaven had opened its gates just for her, allowing her to step into the divine embrace she had prayed for so fervently. Clara allowed herself to fully immerse in the moment, letting go of her physical limitations and embracing the spiritual reality surrounding her. The visions intensified as hymns filled the air, lifting her spirit higher. The songs of praise intertwined with her thoughts, becoming an auditory expression of her deepest desires. This is what I long for, she thought, her chest swelling with joy, to belong in this moment, to be a part of this sacred community. Each note struck a chord within her, drowning out doubts and fears. In this sacred union, Clara found strength, the kind that not only lifted her heart, but also uncoupled her spirit from the confines of the world she once knew. Back in Milan, Carlo was glued to his screen, wrapped in the magic of Clara's story and the journey he had undertaken to share it with the world. As he reviewed his footage, the sense of urgency amplified. He wanted to encapsulate the miracle of Clara's experience accurately. He understood that his documentary wasn't just a project, it was a way to breathe life into her faith, to forge connections with those who might feel isolated in their struggles. As he compiled clips of Clara's story with images of churches, flickering candles, and serene moments of reflection, Carlo could feel the presence of the divine within each frame. He envisioned how his documentary could inspire viewers to discover their own miraculous moments of faith. It was no longer simply a tale about Clara, it became a testament to the power of belief, to the faith that transcends time, space, and physical barriers. With each passing minute leading up to Christmas, Carlo realized he couldn't hold back any longer. He needed to share Clara's story promptly, weaving together the threads of their individual journeys. Feeling a surge of inspiration, he wrote a heartfelt introduction to his documentary that echoed the sincerity of both their experiences. He poured out his soul, writing about their shared yearning for connection and communion, emphasizing how the divine journey shaped their understanding of love and belonging. Back in the divine space of her vision, Clara gazed upon the Eucharist, golden and radiant, held high by the priest, glowing with a spark of infinite grace. The moment crystallized within her. This was the manifestation of everything she had longed for. It was as if a divine hand had drawn her into the sacred heart of Christ, holding her close. Clara's soul resonated with acceptance, the waves of love washing over her, filling her heart with purpose and confirmation of her faith. Then came the moment she had prayed for. The priest lowered the host toward the congregation. The congregation leaned in closer, anticipation palpable in the air, and Clara felt a pulse in her chest in response. She joined the faithful in saying, "Amen," her spirit intertwining with theirs, a unified cry of faith echoing through the heavens. Suddenly, a wave of warmth enveloped her, and in that instant she felt as though she was part of something undeniably sacred. The enormity of love enveloping the chapel could not be put into words, but it resonated deeply within her, an overwhelming awareness that she was seen, loved, and cherished. Tears streamed down her cheeks, reflecting her gratitude for this unveiled glimpse into eternity. It became clear to her that this encounter was a miracle. It was proof that faith had the power to transcend circumstances. Meanwhile, in his room, Carlo's heart raced. He felt the connection between Clara and the childlike faith that swelled within him, all merging into the same spiritual fabric. As he compiled the footage, his emotions washed over him, deepening his resolve to present Clara's story to the world. He believed in her message, in the miracles that could unfold when one opens their heart to God. As Clara continued to bask in the divine encounter, she expressed her gratitude silently, allowing the warmth to cradle her spirit, transforming every ache into joy. For her, this moment of communion was a doorway to a new understanding, a release of every fear that had held her captive. She understood now that her suffering had not been in vain. It had been a vehicle for faith, a catalyst for transcending the limitations of the world. With this profound revelation settled in her heart, Clara sensed that her journey was evolving. Her prayers were not just for herself now. They transformed into a call for others, an invitation to recognize the divine within their own lives. She felt a sense of responsibility to share this miracle of faith with those who might be enduring darkness. In that sacred moment, she resolved to be a beacon of hope. As her vision began to fade gradually, Clara understood that this moment would forever remain within her. She smiled, knowing she carried the light of the Eucharist within her heart. It was a message of divine love and connection that would transcend time and space, reaching Carlo and countless souls who would witness the documentary he would create. In that holy intertwining of their destinies, the miracle of faith had transformed not only Clara, but also Carlo, already in its essence waiting to spark a ripple of hope across the world. The joy of communion enveloped them both, a testament to the enduring power of love and faith, promising that the divine miracle awaited all who would choose to believe. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, Clara rose from her bed, infused with a sense of purpose that felt new yet familiar. The warmth of Christmas morning wrapped around her like a soft blanket, mingling with the hope that had blossomed within her during the previous night's divine encounter. She joined her sisters in the chapel, shadows dancing in the sunlight as joy echoed through the sacred space. The air hummed with anticipation, a palpable reminder of the love and faith binding them together. Clara's heart was light, and as she participated in the morning mass, she felt herself overflowing with gratitude for the abundant blessings of life, love, and divine connection. Each prayer, each song sung, solidified her mission to share her experience with those lingering in darkness. She no longer saw her suffering as an anchor. It was the wind beneath her wings, propelling her toward purpose. Once the service concluded, Clara gathered her fellow nuns in a small alcove of the chapel. "Sisters," she began, her voice steady, "last night changed how I see our faith. I realized that our struggles are not ours to bear alone, but can be the bridge for others in need of hope." The room brimmed with curiosity, and she could feel their hearts leaning in, waiting for her words to take flight. Clara shared the vision she had received, the profound sense of communion that enveloped her, and how it connected her to every believer seeking the divine. "Let us take this message of hope and love into our community. I believe we can reach those who feel lost, who yearn for connection just as we once did." Her sisters nodded, their eyes shining with understanding and solidarity. Moved by her passion, the group began discussing ways to extend their efforts beyond the chapel. They decided to organize outreach programs to help the homeless, sick, and lonely, offering not only material support but also a listening ear and a heartfelt embrace. As they brainstormed ideas, Clara felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her, knowing they were part of something far greater than themselves. Meanwhile, in a cluttered room in Milan, Carlo watched as his documentary gained traction online. The response was overwhelming. Viewers expressed how Clara's story resonated with their own struggles, igniting a flicker of hope within them. Comments flowed in like a tide, weaving together narratives of trials transformed through faith. Carlo's heart swelled with gratitude as he read their messages, a deep sense of purpose anchoring him. In one comment, a viewer shared how they had been inspired to reconnect with their faith after years of feeling adrift. Another recounted how watching Clara's journey encouraged them to reach out for help during a dark time. Each story fired his passion, making him realize that this was only the beginning, a ripple of truth that could change lives. As Carlo prepared for further interviews and footage gathering, he felt a parallel pull toward Clara's mission. Together, they could meld their stories into a movement of transformation. He longed to partner with the sisters and document the outreach efforts, capturing the impact of faith in action within the community. Knowing he was not just the storyteller but an active participant made his heart race with excitement. Clara, on the other hand, worked diligently to organize the first outreach event. She envisioned it as a day filled with food, warmth, and smiles, all formulating a tapestry of love, a celebration of humanity bound by faith. She rallied her sisters, and together they prepared bags filled with essentials and handwritten notes that spoke of hope and connection. Each note contained a personal message, a reminder that they were loved, seen, and embraced by a community grounded in faith. On the day of the event, Clara felt an electric energy fill the air. As volunteers gathered outside, she caught sight of the soft smiles that adorned their faces, imbued with excitement and determination. Clara addressed the group, sharing her story and the significance of community. "This is not just about giving," she told them. "It's about recognizing the light in every heart we touch." The event sprang to life as they served meals, shared stories, and connected with the individuals who had come seeking warmth. Clara moved among the guests, her heart swelling with joy as she realized the impact their efforts were making. In conversations, Clara saw the flames of hope flickering in others' eyes, igniting her own faith even further. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the gathering, Carlo arrived with his camera, ready to capture the moment. His eyes widened as he observed Clara moving with grace, her laughter intertwining with the joy around her. Capturing her kindness and the bonds being formed became imperative. This was a story of love that could transcend beyond the screen and into the hearts of those who would witness it. Together, they had created a landscape of faith and community that breathed life into the weary souls who often felt invisible. Clara understood that this was just the beginning of their shared journey, one that would continue to evolve and inspire countless others to seek their own divine connections. Little did Clara and Carlo know that their lives were intricately entwined in a dance of faith, hope, and love, a sacred story poised to ripple through time with the promise of miracles waiting to unfold for all who chose to believe. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.